Welcome to Tony's Fireside Chat, and I'm really super excited to have Brandon Young for the first time on the podcast. Brandon, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Doing good, man. Real quick before we go live,
Actually, we're
your
not going
mic.
live. I'm just recording it.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna actually go live in a couple of in maybe next week. I'll publish it.
Oh no, no, yeah, but your mic's a little hot. I can hear a buzzing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, 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 it's not that. It might just be that you have the gain up too much. Maybe.
Hold on.
Do you have a pre-mic?
Let me see. Is it any better? Let me just adjust the settings.
I can tell you when it gets hotter, or worse, or better. I owned a recording studio a while back, so I always I had to learn about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. So, um, the default mic is a Nexco. Is it on the? How about this?
It might not even be on the mic that you're using in front of you, because it sounds like it's coming through the computer at a distance.
Yeah. You know what? I do have a computer in the room. Is that buzzing too loud?
A little bit softer now.
Let me try it.
No, but I'm just wondering if the mic in front of you is the one that's on.
Yeah, it should be.
That's better.
This is better.
Much better. What is that?
This is called the USB condensation microphone.
Condenser mic.
Yeah, condenser mic.
That's the one that is right in front of your face. That now you're using it.
Okay. So I was using the wrong one.
You were using the mic on your computer instead of the actual good mic that you bought.
Oh my god. I didn't even know that. And you just look at that.
I could tell by the sound. It sounds so much better now. So that's a nice warm mic you got.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. Yeah, you sound great now.
Listen, so everybody says, and I'm saying this, you could be the next Manny Coates.
I don't know, man. Manny's a cool dude. I like Manny a lot.
Yeah, what? But listen, give us
What does that mean? Does that mean I sell my company and then disappear like Manny did?
well, I don't think you're gonna disappear, but I think we'd all like to sell that company.
That's true too. Yeah, and getting a big payday is pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. And jokingly, and people were saying, okay, listen, we know the secret of branding is success. And I said, okay, I'm on to you because I'm dating somebody right now who's Oriental. So I'm thinking, whatever it takes to get to those 9 figures.
I tell you, man, it makes a difference. They, I owe most of my success to my wife. I can tell you that.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because you need somebody that's supportive, right? When you're being an entrepreneur.
Yeah. No, you need someone you need to be aligned. You can't be pushing while they're pulling.
Yeah.
And so it's really great. And we balance each other really well. Like when we hired a CEO coach over a year and a half ago now. It's expensive, but at the same time, like one of the first meetings he did, he had us take a personality test. And what was really interesting is she and I are on opposite sides of this wheel.
Really?
Which means that we balance really well.
Okay.
Then he said it's great because the first thing I would do is if Brandon was my client would be to go find a Jennifer and hire her. And if Jennifer was my client, the first thing I would tell her to go do is go find a Brandon and hire him. So we just got super lucky that way, I guess.
Yeah, just sometimes, it's that karma, that yin and yang that works well for you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
That's wonderful. But listen, what I'm really here to talk about and learn from myself and the audience is what's going on with Data Dive. What is it all about for people that don't know much about it? I went and saw your full podcast to prepare for this meeting. I saw where you did the examples of with the pet bed and all that, and it was very intriguing.
Yeah, I mean it's the journey for Data Dive has been phenomenal. It's a really funny story the way it came about, but yeah, it's based in the fact that a few years ago when we started
Yeah.
we started the Inner Circle. we were teaching how to pull data from helium-10 and
Mhm.
some other sources. Before helium-10, we were even teaching how to pull it from Viral Launch and Stellar Labs, and then mash up two different reports to create this list that would have keywords and search volume and ranks. And then Cerebro put it all together for us. And then Cerebro allowed you to do 10 at a time instead of one at a time. And but we would still have to run Cerebro with helium-10 with 10 competitors, pull the raw data because it would give you thousands and thousands of keywords. And then we would have to create a relevancy score ourselves and then try to understand what that data meant, right? So
Yeah.
we would teach this process that would take a couple hours to really understand the two biggest questions, which are, um, how are the competitors getting their sales, and how risky is this market, right? And a good analysis would take a couple hours. Rewind about a year ago. A gentleman by the name of Florin joins the Inner Circle, and he's a retired engineer
Mhm.
and former CEO of a SaaS conglomerate, a publicly traded SaaS conglomerate. And he retires, and his wife and him are looking for something to do in retirement. And they said,
Yeah.
we should start an Amazon brand. And they found me, and he couldn't help himself. He learns how we're doing everything manually, and he says
Yeah.
this needs to become a software.
Yeah.
And that's where Data Dive started to come from, is where he started to automate some of these processes to speed up the process. And now the same analysis can happen in 2 minutes or less that would normally take 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, my initial thought when I looked through like with your examples and all that, I'm thinking this is what literally helium-10 should be. You know what I mean? We're left with so much raw data, and and it literally I have to hire people almost to aggregate and sort through that data, and this can be so time consuming, and that's the beauty of what you've created, really.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of where we always wanted to get actionable data, from
Yeah.
getting the data sets from, whether it's helium-10, which we think is some of the best data out there, some really great tools. But it seems like they almost go through the motion of creating tools just to create more tools for us, um, without the use cases in mind, or not from a seller position, right? And
Mhm.
for us, we're sellers first. My wife and I will do close to 30 million with our own brands this year.
Wow.
And we launch, we'll probably launch 150 products in 2022, right?
Wow.
So we're always looking for potential products. We're always trying to write optimized listings, and we're always doing launches and growth and maintenance and trying new things and figuring out how to take all of this raw data and become better. And so that's kind of where our processes that we teach come from.
I still remember the first time I met you was over about 3 years ago at Scubana in New York, and I think back then you were doing about maybe 6 or 8 million or whatever it was, and this is an amazing leap forward, and it's congratulations.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I remember. And it's funny. Chad sold Scubana last year, and he moved locally to me down here in South Florida. So he
Really?
and I have had coffee a few times. So he's a good friend. Um, but yeah, it's a growth, and that's the other part of what we teach, which is the patience side of it. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people get very impatient with Amazon, and they want to be millionaires right away. And it's just the culture these days. You and I are older guys, and we've been around the block, and we've been entrepreneurs for a long time. So we know the opportunity that's in front of us when we look at FBA and we look at Amazon. And so we're willing to put in the extra work to scale that business because of the opportunity. But there's a lot of people that are chasing the next crypto coin or the next NFT project or the next thing that they think will go to the moon.
Hmm.
Um, and if they don't see any results within a few months, then they abandon it and run on to the next shiny object.
Yeah.
It's a little disheartening, because it could be 6 months before your product even gets to Amazon, your first product.
But let me ask you this: like, are you one of the people that are moving, or at least attempting to move sourcing away from not just China but Asia in general, as uh, uh, or is that, would you consider that to be sort of the next shiny object type of thing?
I think there's a huge opportunity, but it's still the infrastructure and the talent, the factories are still difficult to find. Especially when you're talking about from Asia, because Asia is the best equipped for manufacturing in the world. South America, Mexico, even within the United States, they're trying, but they're not doing a good job. Africa is starting to pop up for some manufacturing,
Hmm.
but when you talk about manufacturing, it's very interesting. We just went to a mall the other day, and we went into a boutique toy store, and we're like, oh, what are they selling? Because we're moving into toys, right? Our biggest brand is toys, and we're moving into toy stores. We've opened up over 700 stores,
Nice.
and so we're just, even when we're off and on a weekend, like, we enjoy just walking in, and we're still doing product, like, competitor analysis and stuff. It's just that's just always front of mind, and we
You know,
enjoy
it's
it.
funny you say that because when I was on my last date, I had picked up three items that I was said, "Hey, I can sell this on Amazon," and she was she's right there because she's going through Freedom Ticket right now that I'm
It's
helping her
hilarious,
with.
right? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, just as entrepreneurs, that's just the way our mind thinks. And we were looking at packaging design, we were taking pictures, and we're in the process. We just hired a consultant and a branding agency
uh-huh.
to redesign all of our packaging specifically for retail. We have some big box stores that are interested, and so we're going through this whole process. But we were really interested, and we found out, we saw, like, made in Indonesia on
Yeah,
some wooden toys and stuff. We saw in Malaysia, and these are just not countries we would originally think about for toys, and we saw them on there, and that was very interesting to us. But yeah, you think of Bangladesh, Pakistan, India,
hmm,
Indonesia, and China, and you have a ton of factories throughout that entire region that are pretty good at what they're doing.
yeah,
um, you don't have that infrastructure here in the US or on the Western Hemisphere. It just doesn't exist right now, and we've tried. I can't make plastic toys here in the Western Hemisphere. I've tried to find factories
hmm,
that have the right quality control. I have a soft goods brand that does travel accessories, and I have a travel bag, and I've tried to get that made in Mexico or in South America, and even then, the quality that I would get
yeah.
from the samples wasn't even good. and and normally what they do is they give you a really good sample, and then the order is bad. But when the sample's bad, then that's an extra red flag.
I hear you. Yeah. Let me ask you this: have you been successful in selling any of your brands to aggregators?
What's funny is we haven't sold any brands yet,
Okay.
and I wanted to sell my travel brand. I wanted to just go all in on the toy brand.
Yeah.
Coming out of COVID, travel went to almost nothing, so it was really down, which is fine. But then it started to pick back up, and I said, okay, well, it's on pace to pick back up to where it was. We'll see what they'll offer us, because I just don't want to grow it, but it'll come back. It gives them some upside. I'll sell it at a little bit of a discount. They wanted to offer me like half of what it was worth, simply because of the uncertainty around travel restrictions and viruses and COVID and everything, and
Yeah.
things like that. And I said, you know what, for that, we'll just grow it. Like, I'm confident things are moving in the right direction. We're going to open back up. So
Yeah.
we might as well just add, another 4 to 6 products. It wasn't a lot of SKUs, and it was doing a couple $1 million a year.
Hmm.
And I said, you know what, let's just grow this. So what we actually did that. We added 6 new SKUs, and we've doubled the size of the brand.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Um, how do you feel about the trend towards Spanish translation on your listings? Is that something that you're investing in heavily, or is that another sort of thing that just we have to just be cautious about?
I haven't yet. So Vanessa Hung, who does a lot of upload file stuff,
Yeah,
she's based here in Miami. She's bilingual, and
she
uh,
talks a lot about. That's the
she
reason I'm
talks
asking.
about a lot. Yeah, I haven't done it. I heard a couple people that tried to follow what she said, and it didn't work for them. So it might not work for every SKU, or they're doing it wrong. But I would love to see how she's doing it. I think it's the fastest growing non-English language in America. It's a huge growing segment, but I also think that the bilingual market is big. For international, I think it's big. I just,
Do you
you
put
know,
Spanish on any of your packaging or inserts or anything, or no?
not in the packaging or inserts. We put it. It That's interesting question. We don't. Um,
'Cause I'm considering doing that personally myself. Even I'm just thinking.
yeah, I know. Like if you buy some major products, like sometimes you'll see the same instructions in 3 languages or 4 languages, right? Right. Maybe it's worth doing. We will add the Spanish term to the back end if it has a significant amount of search volume or it's decent. Because when we do the master keyword list or the data research, then we see the Spanish terms,
Yeah.
so we can see if it's worth putting. If it's really big, we would consider putting it in the bullets or the
Hmm.
title even.
Well, the reason we're here is give us your top tips when it comes to the data dive um, feature and how should people use it, because I need to really to build out a team and go through it, and I needed to know sort of a starting point really.
Yeah, so the most important thing is how you seed the data. So
Yeah.
finding the 15 to 20 best sellers of a product. The magic behind a good product can mean that not all the best sellers are ranked for the same keywords. Ideally, most of the time they're not. You'll find that the best seller might be on only 70% of the potential search volume
Hmm.
that's for a product that leads to sales for a product. And so the next bestseller might be on 60, the next guy on 50, and so on. And so there's a little bit of overlap, but for the most part, people are getting their sales from different keywords. And they've got different ways people call words that we call roots. So we
Hmm.
give you a whole tab there where we break down all the keywords into phrases and roots, the
Yeah.
frequency that they're used through the data set, through all the keywords, and the broad search volume for that route. That's super important to know because when you're looking at a product, you want to know um, that you have an advantage. And your advantage is finding all of that data, finding all those keywords and optimizing for them and ranking for it. Whereas most sellers will only target one product, right? Or one keyword. They'll think about, oh, this is the way I would search for it, so I'll optimize for that. They're
Yeah.
guessing. And the reality is you need to look at how people are really searching, and there's people that aren't like you. There different regions have different ways of calling products.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to find that. So what we do is when we seed the data set, we're choosing the 15 best products, and you can do that one of two ways. You can do it from one keyword where you go 2 pages deep with X-ray, and go top down from best sellers, you sort by sales,
Hmm.
um, units sold, and then you just select the 15 best sellers. You can go more niche. So, like, let's say you're selling a felt diaper caddy.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want those woven ones, so you only do the felt ones, right? And then you can get a more niche to see like how the best felt one's doing and what keywords are driving the most sales for the felt ones.
Hmm.
Or you could do a broad one and just choose the 15 best selling diaper caddies, right? So you might do both.
Yeah.
Um, and then you just look at the data sets differently. The next part of that is, or the other way to do it is you add it to your tray. So what we added a feature where you can go onto multiple subcategories
Yeah.
and multiple keywords, and you just select them one at a time and you put them into the tray, and then you do a custom search yourself. And the custom search will have all the ones that you selected throughout all these keywords, so you could find truly the best 15 to 20 best sellers of a product.
Let me ask you this: like, what's your how do you decide on like when something is it enough? When you're giving examples of, hey, are the best sellers, there's still room because they're not ranking for a lot of these other keywords. What's your criteria to say whether it's too saturated or competitive to versus you feel there's still enough room to you can enter?
Yeah, there's a really interesting example that I pulled up the other day,
Mhm.
and I was looking for a product with uh, for somebody with a project,
Yeah.
and we looked at a. Is this going to be audio only, or am I going to be able? Can I show you?
Yeah, you know what? You can even do um, a presentation.
Okay, I can show you really quickly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think that's the best thing to do.
yeah.
Okay,
Do you have access?
let me know if you can see it.
Let me see. I can't see it.
Oh, wait. Window. Okay. Sure.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a card shuffler, an electric card shuffler, right?
Hmm.
And so what we did is we chose these. These are 16 of the best-selling card shufflers on the market. The alarming part when you first look at this data is that you have 83 keywords, which is not a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a lower amount, like 80. Normally that's enough, but it's you want that's like a low end with at least 3 relevancy and at least 350 search volume. And we give a relevancy score by counting the position of these best sellers. The more that are ranked well for a keyword, the more relevant that keyword is. It's just very simple logic.
Hmm.
Now, what we see is that there's 110,000 search volume. That's normally like, so everyone's got different criteria. When you say there's enough, some people with a budget of $10,000, 200,000 search volume and up across to 150 keywords might be too big of a market for them, right?
Yeah.
Like these sellers here are selling, almost 30 a day times a $5 landed. That's a $15,000 budget. Just a thousand. Sorry, it's a thousand a month. Let's call it 1,000 a month times 3 months is 3,000 units times $5 landed. That's 15,000, right?
Yeah.
That you need for this product before marketing and before having any extra money left over for towards your second order, which you need to place probably a couple weeks after launch. So you're not leaving yourself any room, or you probably can't do this product. So this search volume is normally enough for someone that has less than a $15,000-$20,000 budget.
Yeah.
But here's the alarming part. The alarming part is of this 110,000 search volume, this guy, the bestseller, is ranked on 109,000 of it. He's ranked really well
Hmm.
for 99% of the search volume. That's insane. But if I look at the entirety of the market, all of these guys, I have 6 who I would consider very good and 9 good. That means everyone's at least good, which means I probably don't want to do this product because it's super. This represents a very risky product. There
Wow.
isn't a lot of room to improve upon these ranks,
Hmm.
and there aren't a lot of extra keywords. Now, when we look at the opportunity from a keyword distribution standpoint, another alarming factor, another red flag is that of the 110,000, 40,000 is one keyword. It's card shuffler.
Yeah.
So if I don't do well on this one keyword, most of the market's gone for me. But
Hmm.
as I was saying before, if I go look at these root words, I want to see a lot of distribution of search volume, and I don't. I see these 3 of the most.
Yeah.
This one term has 81,000. Card shuffler is on almost 80% of the search volume of the keywords of the search volume for this listing
Hmm.
for this product. So that's a significant. It's really, really top heavy for one root word, one search term. Everyone's really good. So this is just red flag after red flag after red
Yeah.
flag. It's just you don't want to do a product like this. So, but you can't really tell that. I mean, if you were to look at if I were only to go look at card shuffler 4 deck automatic, right? And I go search for that, this guy's 17, this guy's 45. I might think that this represents a good opportunity. But the reality is, just because this guy's a 6 deck doesn't mean he's also not a 4 deck, right? He's
Hmm.
just not optimized well for it. But what's amazing is that I still found a hole in his listing. He's selling 4 times as many units as everybody else, but he still doesn't. He's not indexed for 2 deck. So he's 29 for 2 deck card shuffler 2 deck and automatic card shuffler 2 deck. If he writes 2 deck into his title, he'll probably be ranked top 5 for that one as well, instantly.
You know where I thought would be another good secondary market for you would be even just like agencies. I mean, you could take existing listings to optimize, and people don't even know about it because they think everything's good, and 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 it's not. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, 100%. Like we've got enterprise accounts that we've got set up. We have 6 or 8 aggregators using us right now already, and that's with
Wow.
very little outreach. We have I reached out to maybe a dozen of them, and more than half adopted Data Dive, um, just from a quick demo. And then I give them ongoing support where some of them I do regular calls where I'll tear down ASINs and look at it so they can learn how to interpret the data. Data Dive is a tool, and using a tool is is the most important part, is how to use it, right?
Yeah.
You can hand someone a hammer and nails, and one person is going to break something, and the other person is going to build you a house.
No, I hear you. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for appearing on the podcast. You really opened up my eyes. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
I think it's byoung at datadive.tools. You can go to seller-systems.com. You can find me on Facebook, my Facebook Messenger, or my Facebook group, Seller Systems and Data Dive. I have a public group. I'm always accessible. LinkedIn is good too. You can
Yeah.
find me on LinkedIn.
I
But
noticed
Manny, I
link.
wanted to talk to you more. It's a fireside chat. I wanted to see what's the latest with your brands.
Hold on one sec. Let me just